in being, Latino but not fitting in with the Latino community, but not being light skinned enough to be white and not being brown enough to be part of that community. And then I was now gay and I come from a religious family. My stepfather's a pastor. I grew up in the church. And then there's the religious aspect of it. And you're constantly suppressing yourself to please others or to look like you are somebody else.
What it do, what it do. It's your boy Andre Sproul, and you're tuning in to Middle of the Fence podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, whether you're listening, watching, or both. As I like to say, time is the most valuable thing on this earth because we can spend it but can't make it back. So as always, thank you for your time. And for those that are tuning in, you can notice that the setup is a little different. It's because we have a very special guest today. Please welcome today's guest to Middle of the Fence, Fab. Thanks for joining, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be the first in the new set. This is really awesome. It's an honor. It's a true honor, actually.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So just like Fab said, he is the very first guest to be in the new studio. So it's only right that it's you. We've been in talks for like a while, and we go way back because for those that don't know, you are a hairstylist, not just any hairstylist, a successful hairstylist, owner of Fab and Jules in Montclair, voted the best salon 2 years in a row. In Montclair, congrats, man. That is a big honor.
Thank you.
That's a big honor.
Thank you. It was a really good honor, to be honored that and to be awarded that award. It was nice. We worked hard and it paid off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're ready, man, we can delve into the story and the upbringing that, with what you had to go through and all that you navigated to help reach the successes that you have so far. So ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. So you actually grew up in Brazil and moved to this country when you were 13 years old. So do you mind just briefly delving into what the upbringing was like in Brazil and then just the transition of the shock factor and things of that nature when it came to moving to the U.S.?
No, yeah, absolutely. Living in Brazil at that time, 20-something years ago, it was a different time. It was a different time there, too. I come from a very humble beginning. My family is a humble family. I grew up in a urban town, limited resources, dangerous, and very, I can safely say, on the rougher side, and at that time. And we had it's almost like we don't have anywhere to go from there. You kind of stay there. You grow up there, you stay there, and then you just eventually die there. It's almost like a dead end place.
It's like a cycle that just gets repeated.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. And then as far as that urban upbringing, was that both in Brazil and the US, or was there like a difference when it came to that?
Yes, but on a different level. In Brazil, like I said, we were a very humble family, very modest. And then when my parents had the opportunity to take us out of Brazil and bring us here to give us a better opportunity, it was, it was something unimaginable. And when we got to the States, we also lived in an urban area, but it was very different. Urban areas here are orderly, or some of them are more orderly than others,
of course,
than it was in Brazil. There's actually some rules that we had to follow. But it was urban nonetheless. So we were from a city into another city. It was a transition.
I'm sure it was.
But we made it.
And that's all you can do at the end of the day, is just make it and just like try your best. So, I mean, how was it like just coming here as a teenager, like not knowing the language? And I feel like, because we spoke about it prior, how when you just move to like a different country, if you're like a young kid, like 5-6 years old, you're still young enough to like adapt to like the culture, like the language and all that. But when you come here as like a teenager or at an age that's higher than that, it can be a lot more difficult. So do you mind like delving into like what it was like making that transition, teenage years into grown up life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, getting here, my parents decided that it would be best for us. It would be easier for us to be acclimated if we became Americanized as soon as possible.
Hmm.
So we kind of left our Brazilian traditions and culture behind, and then we adopted all of the American ones. And shortly after that, we went straight to school, we learned English, and then we became Americanized, if you will.
Hmm.
It was a conflict because there was something that we knew, and then versus what we had to become or had become, we were kind of lost in the middle as kids. Well, me as a teenager, I had no choice but to kind of bounce back and forth until I actually found my way. And like you said, we've talked about it before. Having that, being a teenager, going through that, your mind you're always uncertain because you never really know where you're going to fit in, and I've said it to you before. It came to a point in my life where I obviously was an American, but I also now was not Brazilian enough. So I really was in the middle trying to navigate that.
And that's an interesting perspective because I've spoken about like, oh yeah, it's like for me, it was the race side of things, like not being black enough for the black kids, not being white enough for like the white kids, and then like just culturally, just how different it was. But
Absolutely.
I never really thought about it from that perspective, where like it reaches like that point where like you make that transition, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like I'm too much or too little for one side or like the other. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you really don't fit in because you're neither one nor the other. So you're constantly trying to battle where do I go? Where do I fit in? Where am I going to start building something?
but do you feel like the strength of that is like it forces you to be on your own, let's say, and kind of like forge like your own path? Because I mean, you always find like-minded people along the way,
Yeah.
obviously, but when I feel like when you're truly caught in the middle of two or more worlds, it kind of forces you to just grow up and just say like fuck it, like I got to find a way and just create like my own path. So do you think that that
Yeah.
was probably the biggest catalyst for it?
For sure. You create your own. Since you don't belong anywhere, create your own. And in growing up with that, you start finding people that are like-minded, that have been through something similar, and you start building your chosen family in your circle of friends. So it's almost like a group of misfits that now, we're a fit for each other. So I can honestly say that that was my relationship with the group of friends that I've built. We all had a similar background or come from a similar situation, and we were like, well, at least we have each other. It's somebody that I can relate to. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's important, and you can find the people that have the similar values and come from like even if they come from different walks of life,
For
it's
sure.
like I have friends that grew up in many different ways, whether it was like an affluent acres or a tough terrain or in the middle, like how your boy was,
Right.
like it's just like, but the core values are the same. And like I feel like again, when you are navigating through like that like authenticity like wave, and that's how you find your people as well, because you just hold those same values regardless of where you come from.
For sure. And I love that you said, finding your authenticity or becoming an authentic person. You don't really know what that is. So it comes to a point where you do say, fuck it, and this is who I am, and I have to embrace it. And then people just gravitate towards you because of your now found authenticity, and you're now taking a stance. And definitely.
Would you say that like, because for me personally, finding my authenticity was like, it took a while, like I'm 30 now, so I'm well aware that I have more than half my life to live, God willing, but finding my voice and that authenticity really started in like my late 20s, and this podcast has helped out a lot. So thanks for everyone that's tuning in. I want to mention that
Yeah.
at this time. So for you, like when it comes to like when it came to like finding your authenticity and things of that nature, is there like a moment that like stands out for you, or was it just more so like it kind of just happened as you progressed through life?
I want to say I started finding that voice around 18, 17, 18. I was also more comfortable with my sexuality. And, coming from a religious family, I was really finding my ground, finding my footing. So around that time, that's when I decided that, I needed to be authentically me, and the people who were for me were going to find me. So, but I
Right.
feel, but I feel that we're constantly adjusting that. We're constantly finding that authenticity because we're constantly in need to fit in different scenarios, in different occasions of our lives, in different situations,
And just how fast life moves, and life is
all the
moving at a
time.
much quicker rate
Then
than
we can
like
adjust.
yeah,
Yeah,
then we
yeah, for
just like
sure.
just trying to keep up. You're just like, shit,
Yeah.
man, I'm just trying my best out here to like keep up with
And
things.
then by the time you do keep up with it, it's time to change again. It's time to do
Exactly.
something. So you never really catch up. You can just keep it moving every single time.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And you touched on the fact that coming out was one of the ways that you were able to find your authenticity. And one of the things that stood out from our previous conversations was you didn't know what struggle to pick, so you picked like a little bit of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. When I was going through the struggle line, I couldn't pick one, so I took all of the struggles. In being, Latino but not fitting in with the Latino community, but not being light skinned enough to be white, and not being brown enough to be part of that community. And then I was now gay, and I come from a religious family. My stepfather's a pastor. I grew up in the church. And then there's the religious aspect of it. And you're constantly suppressing yourself to please others or to look like you are somebody else. So by the time you come, and it's exhausting. And that generates a lot of anxiety, that creates a lot of insecurity. And around 17, 18, that's when I decided I have to be me. It wasn't easy. It was kind of
I'm
like,
sure, especially when you come from a family that's
oh,
very
yeah.
religious, especially like South American, like
Yeah, oh,
real
yeah,
religious family.
for
Woo!
sure.
Woo!
For sure. And it wasn't really coming out of the closet. It was kind of like putting a toe outside of the closet, feeling that water, what it was like. And then the whole foot came out, and then the whole leg came out. And little by little, I was authentically me, and I was living in my truth and in my life, and I was finding my way. Made a lot of mistakes during, as you should, as a young man.
Absolutely.
But, I do have to say, I don't have many regrets. I was fortunate enough to really live and feel authentically me at that
And
time.
and I'm really happy to hear that, because whenever I talk about like my show and navigating two or more worlds, like the main categories are usually culture, race, religion, sexual orientation. And was there like, were you just scared of like losing the important relationships in your life with that? Because I feel like 'cause obviously like my brother also came out, or actually around like that same age too,
Yeah.
and had him on the show, of course,
Yeah.
obviously.
I think I
And
remember when your brother came out.
yeah.
I was already doing the family's hair at that time. Yeah.
So I mean, I was able to get a firsthand perspective on it. And again, it's something that I personally won't ever have to go through, but like seeing that firsthand and how much stress and anxiety it
Oh, yeah.
causes, and just finally being able to come out and then live in your authentic, truest form. Like I feel like it's so important to do that, but it's I feel like it's a little easier to make that jump if you have that love and support behind you, because obviously like not everyone is going to see eye to eye with it or understand it. So was it something that like your family and people close to you eventually like came around to accept you for who you are, or was it something that like they just like deaded all
You know,
like
I
all talks?
I love this side of the conversation because during that time we found mutual respect. And I was never a fan of the word acceptance, because when you have to accept something, or when you're in the position where you can accept something, it puts you in a higher position, in a position of power, which you get to deem what's acceptable or not. And I have said to my parents before, I don't need to be accepted. I just need to be respected. And we found respect, and, they respect me and I respect them. And it took some work, but we got there.
Yeah, and I like the way that you put it, being respected.
Yeah,
That's what's most important, because that translates across the board.
for sure.
Like when it comes to that, because there can be, even if you don't see eye to eye with someone, like having that respect Like I actually did a episode like not that long ago about the importance of being respected more than being liked.
100%.
Because again, that was something that growing up for me, I was such a people pleaser, man.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
was like, and a lot of people can like, yeah,
Overachiever. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of people can relate to that. But it was like, okay, but when you dip your toe to start hit that respect line, it's like, all right, I'm gonna be seen as the bad guy in certain like situations or just relationships or things like in general. But as long as I know that I can stand in my truth with it, then that's what's most important.
Yeah. The whole crave for acceptance is such a dark space for anybody, whether you're a child, a teenager, or an adult. You're always seeking for that acceptance, and then we become performative. And everything that we do is to please others and to kind of gain that recognition and be like, well, how about now? Do you like me now? Am I acceptable now? Am I enough now? And then you just start performing, 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 and then you lose who you are.
I literally couldn't put it better. like I literally can't put it better. And I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear like your thoughts on this for the acceptance portion of things. Do you think more people in today's day and age are leaning towards that way of wanting to be more accepted than in previous years or generations because of, things like growth in like technology and people, feeling like they're more lonelier than ever? Like what would you
Well, I
say with
mean,
that?
this could get very controversial if we're going to talk about, people seeking acceptance, because I do think so. I think that the people now we're looking for acceptance. We're looking for you to accept us for who we are, when that's not up for discussion. That's not really a debate. The debate should be, this is who I am. How can we find middle ground so that we can respect each other? And sometimes I see two groups, and I'm not only talking about the sexuality aspect of it,
Mhm.
of religion, race. Two
Mhm.
people are fighting over something, and they're being very passionate about their side of the story or their side of what they believe in. And there's such a beautiful middle ground right there, super visible for everybody that's on the outside, but they can't because they want to be accepted. And in order for me to accept it, I have to force you to like me so that you can accept me.
Mhm.
As opposed to me just saying like, listen, let's agree to disagree. I respect you, you respect me, you live your life, I live my life. We can probably even build something great together. But since I'm looking for acceptance and you are looking for acceptance, we're always going to shove that down each other's throats so that we can be accepted.
And people just taking too much shit
Oh
personally.
yeah.
Like
Oh my God.
and that's like if there's a lesson that we can just like tell people, don't take too many things personally.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just like everything is not about you.
And it's not a personal attack on you or your character or you know what I mean. If I have an opinion about something, if I like black and you like colors, if I say I don't like colors, I'm not attacking you. I'm not calling your mother names, which I love your mother. Shout out,
Shout out,
shout out
mom.
to your mom. Like it's not a personal attack. I think because we are so guarded and we're so heavily looking for acceptance, anything is a personal attack to our character, to who we are, to what we have, and it's really not that deep.
Yeah. And right, we're really like, taking a crap like on certain things, but it's just also too like I don't know if it's because like people are saying like this generation's soft and da da da, but I mean
They are.
yeah.
They are.
I can definitely see the difference because I personally feel that since I was born in '96, I was like the
Cusp.
last. I was like, yeah, I literally was on like the cusp of like the old school and then like the transition of how everything is into like today. So there's definitely a difference. I mean, you can't act like there's not, even
Oh
down to
yeah.
things like participation trophies. Like there's no like first, second, third. It's
Oh, I
like
hate those.
everybody's a winner. That's not how life goes.
That's
That's
not
not
even
how
a real
life goes.
thing. That's not even a real thing. I don't know if I told you this, but I also teach at a cosmetology school,
Mhm.
and I tell my students all the time that hairstylists that put on a show, it's to overcompensate for how mediocre their work really is. So I said, so yes, you can't charge more money because your work is not that. So in order for you to feel like you're worth a little bit more money, you have to put on a bigger show and you have to act a fool. And that kind of loses the essence of our industry. But I think that that's all the way around. That would apply to anything and everything. You don't get a participation trophy for a show up. There are certain things in our lives that is a requirement that this is something that you have to do. You have to show up for yourself. You're not showing up for me. You're showing up for yourself. So, and if you didn't do well, why should I reward you for you not doing well? What lesson is there for you to take? What lesson is there to be learned? I'm not saying that I'm going to beat you down either and say that you're not enough, they're not good enough. That's not the case. It's how can we prep you so that you can be better the next time?
That's it right there.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely. And you just see that across like social media as well, where it's like the people that are like the loudest or have like the most to say.
God.
And it's just like, it doesn't mean that they're right or, even are able to speak about certain things at a high level, but it's
For
just like
sure.
that's what seems to get rewarded.
And it's funny that you touched on that, because I always say that there's a very big difference between fame and success. You could be famous, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to you being successful, which then makes you infamous. And some people are chasing this clout. They're chasing this thing that doesn't exist, and they don't understand why their lives is not as successful as the other person. But they also don't realize that person is not successful at all. Everything is a smoky mirror, is a facade. We don't really know what's true or not these days.
Absolutely. It's very hard to tell these
Yeah.
days. Absolutely.
For
And
sure.
speaking of the hairstyling industry, because
Yes.
you touched on it with your students and
Yeah.
all that. So, what made you decide that that's the route that you wanted to take?
I was always passionate about education. I think that education in this particular career is something that you never stop doing. So from the moment that you start your cosmetology journey and then you become licensed, you will forever be educated. You will forever attend education seminars and things like that, because things change and you got to stay current. At some point, I became even more passionate about education, because I saw the divide. I saw that our industry was being diluted because of the separation in race, the separation of sexuality, the separation in status. And we are stronger together. The industry is stronger together. So when everything is so watered down and so diluted, we can't really build something. We have no quality control. And me noticing that propelled me to jump into education much faster, much sooner, because I really wanted to kind of bring that to light to the newer generation of hairstylists, that listen, we are stronger together. We can build something together. We belong to something bigger than ourselves. Hairstyling is not an individual sport. We belong to an industry, and the industry has lost respect throughout these years. Hairdressers are not celebrities anymore. Hairdressers are not millionaires anymore. Today, there was a statistic that said that I think it was 85% of the salons in the United States are unprofitable. And the other 15% was breaking even, which means that hairdressers have two jobs. If you don't have a two income household, you are working a second or possibly third job. Okay, so how can we change that? It's just by regrouping, restructuring, really taking our education seriously, and going on from there. But that needed to be brought to light for sure.
Yeah, and like one of the things that stood out to me when you were talking in regard to that was the fact of coming together,
Yeah,
because that translates throughout.
through everything.
And that's part of it, where like we're as a society, it's like we're individualistic. It's like, we pride ourselves on like, I'm gonna find my own way and let my ego drive me to that. But we can't do anything without the help of other people.
For
Wherever
sure.
you're at in life, you've had people that helped you along the way. And I personally think there wouldn't be billions of people on earth if we were able to just be on our own and not need that
Oh yeah.
support.
We are wired for connection. If you feel that you are, a loner, or if you work better on an interpersonal way, something went wrong. Well, there's something there that needs to be worked on, because biologically we are wired for connection. We're wired to be in the company of somebody else. We're wired to build things together. We've developed this individualism or this individualistic mentality throughout the years because things became easier. So I can do it on my own, easier, quote unquote. But I can do it on my own. I don't need you for anything. And that kind of destroyed everything. It destroyed industries. It destroyed families. It destroyed cultures. We can't be a culture alone. We can't be an industry alone. We can't be anything alone. We need the help of other people, for sure.
Yeah, and one example that sticks out with me was when I was a junior in college, and just like how you mentioned earlier, when you're a young man navigating your early years, you're gonna do some things
Oh yeah.
along the way. It's part of life, you know what I mean? But that's not the case with this story. But I remember I was in like the student union building, which is basically like the center hub of like where you got like your lunch, like bookstore stuff, like a whole bunch of stuff. And I was by myself eating lunch right before I was going to go to class, and one of the there was a foreign exchange kid from Spain who was there for all of my junior year, and he sat down with me and we were catching up, and he's like, I don't get it why you guys do everything by yourselves. Like he's like, in Spain, like you won't ever find anyone on their own. It's like everything we do, it
It's
goes
together.
together. And then, again, I'm half Argentinian, so when I've been lucky enough to go to Argentina, and it was like this, and it was the same thing. It's like everybody finds a reason to get together and be in groups, and for some reason, we just don't do that here.
And I don't understand why. And I can say in Brazil is the same thing. Everything is it's we do everything together. We're stronger together. It involves some kind of food, if you're South American. And
Exactly.
now let me ask you this. So think about it. If you think that you can be successful all by yourself and on your own and by yourself and be alone, who's going to be there to measure your success? And people say like, oh, I don't need validation. Well, if you don't need validation, who's going to say that, oh no, this is good, this is a successful thing? You need to be validated by somebody. We can't say that, oh, I'm seeking validation is a bad thing. There's certain things that are not bad. You being validated and saying that, no, this is a successful thing, this is what we should do, this is what we should aspire to be, is not a negative thing. For you to say, yes, we're all seeking validation at all times.
Absolutely. And that's why like I feel like a great thing that to like remember for anyone that is on a journey that, hey, I'm trying to reach this goal and it's going to take me a certain amount of time to get there, to say the least. And I feel like what happens with a lot of people is like they start here, they reach their end goal, and then they look back and forgot about the journey
Yeah.
along the way. And then it's like, yeah, I'm successful. I've hit all my goals. I reached the mountaintop, but
There's no joy.
there's no joy.
There's no joy in the
You're
success.
still miserable.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the journey, not the destination. The journey makes you who you are. And when you get there, you'll realize all of the things that you have to go through to be where you are. And that's what makes it a joyful experience. And you want to share that with somebody.
There you go.
So now I'm going to be at the top of the mountain by myself. And
Yeah.
look how great I was.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
So let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
Two pieces of life advice. So one is have your own back at all times.
Mhm.
And second, when unsure in what to do nothing. You mind sharing your insight on both of those
Yeah,
pieces of
absolutely.
advice?
When I say like for you to have your own back, and I'm not saying be alone, be by yourself. I'm saying stand true in who you are. Up to 10 toes down in your authenticity, be you, and who's for you and what's for you will come your way. You also have to put some work into it, but that's what I mean by saying have your own back. And as far as what was the other that I said?
When unsure
when
in what
unsure-
to do
Do
nothing.
nothing. That's where the big mistakes happen. when you can't see clearly what you're working towards or what the end result's going to be. So when you are unsure if you should buy it or should not buy it, don't do anything, think about it. If you should go and if you shouldn't go, don't do anything, think about it. If you should, tell that person how you feel, break up with the person or whatever. If you don't know, don't do anything until you know what to do.
I love that. Both pieces of advice, honestly, because like the first one, just like having your own back is, I feel like it also ties into like, if you're trying to pour into other people's cup, you got to make sure that your cup is filled first.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like you have to, and even with the important relationships in your life, family, friends, like significant other, it's like you have to make yourself a priority, and not to the point where you're pushing people away, but you have to make sure that you're good first, because if not, then how can you truly be in a position to be there for others and help others out? And then another aspect of it is like, it's important to have your own back, but when it gets a little difficult to do that, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's important to have the people close to you to really help with support.
That. But don't they say that, if there's an emergency in a plane, you put your own oxygen mask first before you help somebody else?
Exactly.
You can't help other people when you can't breathe. So, I'll be helpful to you as soon as I can catch my breath.
Yeah. And the second point of when unsure and what to do nothing. That is so important, because like, I forgot where I heard it from. I think I heard it from like another podcast that I've listened to. It was called the Mindset Mentor podcast with Rob Dial, and he talked about how when it comes to making like decisions about certain things, like there's like a first wave of reaction from like your brain, that like instant reaction, like right away. But then if you take that extra couple of seconds, then that second wave of like logic comes in to like weigh in. So that's important, because I feel like in today's day and age, everything is so fast paced, instant. You want food, it's at your doorstep. You want groceries, it's at your doorstep. You need something from Amazon, it'll be there next day. Yeah. Next day. Sometimes even like less than a day. Sometimes like
same day delivery.
Yeah, same day delivery, which is like nuts. But I think that it really is vital to just take your time and really process things, because now certain things it's like, hey, we need a decision like right now, so you don't have time to process it. But is that something that like, is that like a skill that was just like developed, or is that something that like
No, I have to work hard on it. And you know why? Because people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So when you don't know what to do nothing, because the outcome of that could be tragic, a lot worse than you intended it to be. And you can't take that back if you're dealing with relationships, or even if it's a work situation, or a friendship, whatever it is. If you don't know what to do, you can cause irreparable damage. So if you don't know what to do, take a second to yourself, regroup, but meanwhile, do nothing.
Yeah, and that's why like they say that like that the tongue is the most powerful.
Oh yeah, most dangerous.
Yeah, it is, because you always remember those times when people were there and like supportive. But on the flip side, even if it's someone that you're like removed from, if there's one thing that they said, especially like a parent or something like that, that was very negative or mean, you tend to hold on to that a lot more. And that's why, just like you said, it's important to really take the time and be careful with what you say, and really, because sometimes you get caught up in the moment, you know what I mean?
The moment is your worst enemy. The moment is there to get you.
And that's when things can really, pop off.
For sure.
For sure. And so when it comes to your journey, you described it as disenchanting.
Yeah.
Well,
I use the word disenchantment carefully, because I think that sometimes we have this this wonderful view, and we have this, rose colored glasses on, and we think that everything should be magical, and it really isn't. And sometimes living in that type of ignorance doesn't allow you to enjoy certain things too. Like the growing pains is not a bad thing. I always say that sometimes a broken heart is not necessarily a bad thing. People say, "Oh, how can you cherish that?" Wouldn't you want to look back at something and feel like that what you've lived was real? That pain part reminds you that what you felt was real, what we had with somebody was real. So you can't live in this world of enchantment all the time. You're going to miss out on a lot of life lessons. You're going to miss out on a lot of wonderful things. And getting to where you're going to be, the journey is not pretty.
No.
It's never pretty.
No.
Or it's not often pretty, I should say. I don't want to be unfair.
Yeah, we don't be like too.
Yeah, I don't want to be too extreme. God, no, it wasn't pretty.
Gloomy.
No, it wasn't pretty. But I feel that when you are walking towards something, I can honestly say, to me, it was just disenchanting. I was like, wow, this is not a fairy tale. This is not a walk in the park. This is my real life.
And newsflash, everybody, your life is not a Disney movie or just a movie like in general.
No,
and like
not.
I actually took like a art of film class, and honestly, guys, I shouldn't even be talking about movies because I'm so bad at naming actors and actresses. Like my family, and like they make fun of me so much about it. Like I can have a picture of like the most famous actor or actress that like everyone knows, and I'm like, I'm not sure. But when it comes to athletes, it's like I can name them like all fripp. But I say that to say because there's movies where like here we fantasize the, like just like you said, like the rose-colored lenses, viewing it from that perspective, and just like, cloud nine, and all that. But then like when you see movies from other countries, they get straight to the point. They show the real shit.
There's no happy ending. They didn't end up together. It was like, wow, that was not the plot twist.
Yeah, but like all jokes aside, though, when it comes to like those like growing pains and all that, and just a reminder that like, life isn't always pretty, but what comes from that can be beautiful, and it's real. And I feel like for me personally, growing up, like my mid-20s was really a lot of like soul searching, and I call it the lonely chapter, to like the point where like in like a 4-year stretch, I went like 2 of those years without dating, seeing anyone, no, like nothing, just like focusing on myself. And even to the point where it was like I was still around my family and friends, but not as much as like I am now, and like have been over the last like couple of years. But I feel like it's important to go through that growth chapter, and it looks different for everybody. I went to the extremist way possible, like monk mode, like like phone on D&D, like I'm finding like my way. But why do you think people struggle with embracing the that growth phase or the difficult chapters that life may throw at them?
Because they're worried about what it should look like to others. I think that we struggle embracing that. We struggle enduring that because through my journey, not only my journey is rough, but I'm worried about my journey being appealing to you or looking good to you. And that's why I said that that's part of the disenchantment, that you have to be real. This is what it is. This is my journey. This is what it is. And on the contrary, I believe that rawness draws people to you, as opposed to you saying like, oh, life was rough, but I made it. Look at my journey. It was great. People are like, oh, wow, that's great. But that didn't bring anybody closer to you. And you didn't enjoy that moment of your personal growth or that personal like search.
Yeah. It's and it goes back to all the stuff that we were talking about earlier. You know what I mean? Just and I mean, I feel like Instagram is like the number one culprit with that, where like, you can see someone that seems like they're living life lavishly and all this, but if you actually met them, it's like, that's
talk about that all
really
the time.
That's not really the case,
Listen, I talk about this all the time, even at school, when sometimes you see what you see on the other end. You see a picture of a happy couple. You don't know how many fights it took for them to get that picture. or, who was rude to who.
Right.
All you see is that, they're a happy couple, or they've acquired something, but you don't see the getting there. So therefore
Exactly.
you have a false sense of reality, and you think
Exactly.
that it should just be easy.
Exactly. So, for a fun fact about you, you mentioned you don't eat anything green.
Yes, I don't.
So what do you mean by that? Are we talking like vegetables or like the color green? What's what's going on
I
with
don't
that?
eat anything of the color green, but that's not entirely true.
Okay.
I will eat like the green M&Ms or the green Skittles. I actually like green Skittles. That's as far as green that I will eat. Aside from that, I don't eat anything else green.
So what contributed to that?
Dude, I don't know. I'm not a salad person. I never was. I
wasn't either.
I don't understand
either.
salad. I don't. And if you tell me like, "Ooh, I'm craving a salad," that's not a real thing. Nobody craves a salad. It's
I feel usually like guests say like, "Yo, like you make me feel seen and heard." Fab, you make me feel seen and heard right now, man. Like for real.
People are like, "Oh, I'm craving a." Nobody craves a salad. Nobody's craving a salad. That's not a real thing. We crave a burger. We crave chocolate. We crave, we don't crave leaves and think about it. Your salad is probably more unhealthy than a McDonald's meal or any fast food meal, because you're going to get yes, I want my greens, but then you put all that dressing and you put the bread and then you put the cheese and then you put all of those things. And now you have a 12,000 calorie salad when you could have just had a slice of pizza. So yeah, no, but to go back to me not eating anything green, I never really liked vegetables, and I never really liked salad. So the green factor, like the greens, never really was appealing to me.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get around to eating greens and vegetables and all this stuff because I was just a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm good, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like I remember just for etiquette purposes, it's like, oh well, what if you're out on like a date and like they bring salad out to the table? I'm like, I can choose not to eat the salad.
It's gonna stay on the plate.
Like if I'm at a wedding and the salad comes out, I'll maybe like pick at it just cause. But most of the time, I'm not even gonna touch it. Like I literally go to whoever is at my table. I'm like, anybody want my salad? Anybody want my salad?
Like if it has like cherry tomatoes, I'll eat those because I'll just dip them in the dressing like that. But aside from the salad, that there's some good protein or some good carbs coming out. Why are you going to eat the leaves? Just leave the leaves alone.
Exactly. So as we begin to wrap things up here, what's one piece of advice? If you feel free to give more than one, you obviously can. But what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give to anyone that's tuning in to this episode, regardless of age and anything?
The first advice would be continue watching it, continue listening to it. He's onto something here. He's made some really interesting comments, and you've had some great episodes. I think that he brings awareness to the differences in between people, but in a way where we are more alike than you think. Kind of awareness. So from the moment that you started this podcast, I actually remember speaking to your mom about it, and even your sister. And I was like, you know what? There's nothing like what he's doing out there. He's going to bring awareness to something that people just dismiss because it's subconscious. That difference is subconscious, and we don't really address it. But it will allow people to also realize that we are much closer, that we have much more in common than you think we do. So, piece of advice number one. Continue watching, continue listening, continue tuning in.
You heard the man.
You are onto something, and I'm really happy and proud of you for starting this and doing this. Another piece of advice would be stay authentically you. I just speak back to what I said before. You are who you are. What's for you will come your way. Who's for you will come your way, and you will find your chosen family, you will find your tribe, and make sure that you have enough room in your life to belong to something bigger than yourself. So That would be, the major advice. We should belong to something bigger than ourselves.
Great, man. And for anyone that wants to keep up with your journey and what you got going on, this is your time to shout out your socials and business and all of that.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
floor is all yours, Fab. Go ahead.
Thank you. So feel free to follow my hair salon page is Fab and Jules on Instagram. My personal page is Fabrizio Warner Hair. I'll probably have Andre tag it somewhere.
Yeah, I'll tag it, link it, and all that,
link it
and all
on
that
the
good
episode.
stuff.
You get to see some of the things that we do, some of the classes that I teach, some of the interactions that I have with people. Stay around and see the magic happen.
Come on now. And if I were to add a little, piece of advice for those out there, since Fab did such a great job of the kind words shared for the program and the work that I've done. So thank you for that. And guys, the women in my life, I grew up with mostly women in my life. They're very particular, but they have been going to Fab for more than half my life.
I think it's 14 or 15 years
Yeah, 14,
now.
15. So literally teetering half of my life. And, just from the experiences that they've had and just putting people on like from there. And I just feel like, and I've actually sat in on some of those sessions too.
In the hair therapy sessions.
Exactly. Like the hair therapy sessions. So I feel like, again, like your authenticity also speaks in those spaces, in that space, because it's not just, okay, I'm showing up, your hair is going to look great, have a nice day. The way that you connect with not only like my family, but the people that you work with, and when I've seen you deal with other clients while like my mom or sister, are waiting, it just speaks a lot to who you are. And this has been a testament of your journey as well, because being a little boy from Brazil and moving to this country, and the success that you've been able to set up for yourself, like it's just, and it definitely is a mindset shift that you have to take to just keep going. But I just want to give you your flowers as well, man, because I know the journey hasn't been easy, and you're at where you're at for a reason. So keep pushing and keep doing your thing. And you already know I'll be supporting, my family supporting, man.
Yes,
so
no,
I definitely
really,
just want
and I
to
really
shout that out.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Of course. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, no matter which side of the fence you grew up on, we're all more alike than we think. Fab, thanks again for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
Catch you guys next time. Peace.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Didn't realize that you were still there after this video. While you're at it, please be sure to subscribe here on YouTube, and feel free to like and comment as well, so we can continue growing this middle of the fence family. And while you're at it, please be sure to hit the little notification bell to subscribe to the channel, so you can be the first to be notified when the latest episode drops. And as always, no matter what side of the fence you grew up on, we're all more alike than we think.